Welcome to the archives to witness the inner depths to the story of AveyaZ from Birthright to Retribution. Are you ready? Let's dive into this. Today I get to bring to you the new project that I've been working on for the past 2 to 3 months now. And this is going to be called the Velaris Codex, and it's going to be the total world building elements of the AveyaZ story. When discussing today's material, I actually created this website tool. It's on a new host from GitHub, and this is going to be the link to be able to follow along with me if you choose to do so. If not, sit back, relax, and enjoy all the creativity that I put into this project. And thus bringing you here to the homepage of the Velaris Codex. And I'm totally excited to bring this to everybody here today, because not only is this going to really bring a total development, but it's going to highlight all of the mechanics to further increase the depth of the story that was originally posted back in November of 2025. When you get into looking at any piece within the Codex, you're going to get these, what I call ARC cards. In these card formats, you basically, as soon as you look at one, and it gives you a nice little highlight, and if you go and click it, you're going to get not only the image showcase on the left-hand side, but then all of the material and content on the right-hand side. And as you can tell here, you just go ahead and you start skimming through with this little sidebar here. You can drag it all the way through down and from the top, and that's how you get to go through all of each of these individual cards. The first one I'm going to actually showcase out of all these tabs is going to be the original story from Birthright to Retribution. And so when I click on this card, you can go ahead and see, not only is it going to give you the entire showcase of the full original story, and it's incredibly long, it would take a long time to read through all of that material. And so for me, when I originally posted this story, and I have made minor changes into some of the names and context, but I originally posted this story as of, again, back in November of 2025, specifically on the United States holiday of Thanksgiving. And my God, I was so happy to get that out there and showcase it to the world. But going on to the next part here, then we're going to go over and slide over to the timeline. And the timeline is going to be a hyper condensed format of the full story. And so again, when you go ahead and you look through all of these cards, you're going to get a quick showcase of the material that was associated to each of these specific events. And I want to say there's about 20 of them here, and it goes from the very beginning of the story to the very end, showcasing each of the 5 endings to the story. That is to part 1, because this is going to be officially tagged as the part 1 of the story. Next piece here, we're going to start getting into the index, and this is really going to create the totality of the world building elements to a fantasy storytelling RPG system. And this is going to not only create the full storytelling basis, but the world building elements and the mechanics that are associated to AveyaZ. Going from the resonance and corruption thresholds, the combat 5-tier system, so trying to create, once again, that RPG system format in a very gamified way. 8 core combat attributes, really it's just the overall stats to any particular character or individual within this world. Social status tiers, I'm trying my best to really relate this back to real foundational systems that are presented in reality of our world. And it's a really cool showcase to really see the differences between the two coming together in an overlapping sequence, but once again, in a gamified way. The resonance bonding system, typical support system, but with slightly different deviations once you get to the maximum peak of support-like characteristics with another individual. Combat attributes associated with very many different types of combat attributes. So this isn't just going to be traditional arts into techniques, more associated along those lines, but it's also going to showcase a couple of intelligent-based systems as well. Weapons and armory systems, and to highlight here, there's going to be one new major mechanic called the conduit bands, and truly it's just going to be an original art of its kind as an accessory component that has never before been seen in an RPG or a gamified system. Then last but not least, the Velaris glossary for typical terms that could be showcased there. Getting over into the Atlas of Velaris, and the Atlas of Velaris is going to showcase regional context of the major parts of the entire world the world being once again Velaris. So you have the realm of Athen, Verelios. Realm of Athen is broken down into 5 distinct regions, being Verelios, Nemura, Dragorn, Silvara, Farundel, and then also a side text to the Weeping Dystopia. The outer realms that are associated to the parts outside of the realm of Athen is going to be Lazaloon, the realm of light, Nocturos, the realm of darkness, Zarvale, the chaos realm, Verelion, the order realm, and last but not least, the one that connects all of these pieces together from the outside realms to the inner realm is Nithra, the nebula zone, which really you can consider it its own realm as well. Getting over to the Arcane Compendium, this one is going to really showcase all of the mechanics when it comes to all the magical characteristics or arcane characteristics when it comes to the world building elements. Particularly here, you're going to have core mana affinities, and this is really going to separate this from a lot of other fantasy genre types in general, with the fact that when I'm showcasing mana attributes, they're not going to simply be your traditional elements of fire, water, wind, mana. They're not just going to be your traditional elements of fire, water, thunder, wind, light, and dark. There is a new synthetic treatment going to be Axiom Mana. Wasn't showcased in the original part of the story I created, but some of these mechanics overall were not there, and that is going to drive me to creating a remaster of the story in the near future. But getting into the more divine anomalies, you're going to be distinctions between the divine attributes, in this case chaos mana, order mana, and void mana. Those are the 3 divine anomalies: order, chaos, and void. Very cool mechanics, and really starts to showcase how the world building elements start coming together when you really think about that part in particular. And what's really going to set everything together is the art of arcane synthesis, and that is mana fusion, the literal binding of elemental fusion onto matter or overall objects in general, as well as binding to individuals. And that's where we start getting into context of soulbound mechanics as well, where when you achieve a soulbound link, you're literally attaching your soul or mana characteristics to another individual. Hence the creation of the soulbound ritual. Arcane magical seals, which are going to be forbidden seals that are cased into the depth of the lore of the story, holding back to what is called World War I, officially recognized as the Divine War. And then you're going to have transformative states, and currently, because part 1 story is really going to be associated as the Chaos Arc, the Chaos Arc is really showcasing the transformative states of chaos. Once we start getting into Arc 2, which is going to be the Order Arc, then we're going to start bringing in those transformative characteristics for order designated individuals. Last but not least, void individuals in the future as well. Trying to get a little bit of a showcase here and there, but that's the overall game plan going forward. Then of course the Silvara Null Tech, which this world is heavily manifested by magical affinity characteristics, so therefore having some form of magical restraints is really going to be that nice little extra touch to the world building elements. Once again, this was not originally posted into the story, but when we get to the remaster, it's coming in and it's definitely going to be there. Compat Paths. So Compat Paths is really going to start hammering in the overall RPG style mechanics of going between 4 distinct paths, one being the melee vanguard matrix, the second being the ranged engineering grid. If anything, the ranged mechanics overall just literally did not exist in the original story, so bringing that in will be cool. Sovereign Arcane Paths, which is going to be, of course, the magical binding paths. And last but not least, the mixed types in lore ascensions, which is the hybrid style combat paths. And really, this is where the end game results are going to drive to become, which is where you want to become some form of a hybrid fighter. The deep mechanics of the overall world building concepts is going to be heavily facilitated towards the mixed types. Getting over to the Professions in Society. Professions in Society is going to highlight once again more of that realistic standpoint of being able to relate to the present world that we all live in, and that's where it starts to showcase social status differentials as well. So going through some of these sectors civic and infrastructure sector. So you have the builders, the surgeons, the people who work in the medical field, etc., stuff like that. Research and teaching, commerce and data sector, law enforcement, separated into 3 distinct categories, being federal law, local law, as well as the royalty dedicated personnel. Once again, we have this fantasy type storytelling involved, and there are many different royal guidelines, or rather royal bloodlines, associated to different regions. And then of course, more of that gamified sense, getting other to the rather unique characteristics to the fantasy side of the professions. You have the explorers and anomalies, underworld and shadows, as well as the freelancer and mercenary sector. Getting on to one of the last tabs here, and that is going to be the factions. This is going to be one of the coolest ones here, because the imagery that is really showcased, that I've really tried to create here, is going to, not only does it look phenomenal, but it really showcases the general idea of what you're going to witness from each of these designated factions. And I already hinted a little bit about royal bloodlines, so we have a couple here: Royal House Calva, Royal House Ashan, Royal House Zendelga, which is associated to the destructive chaos lineage of the Chaos Realm, Royal House Zavareth, the Grand Guild, the Demiborn Ruling Council, Arcane Mages Association, Cult of Varnaxis, which is really designated to the plot of the story, Sovereign Directive Agency, the Federal Law Enforcement Agency, Garrison Enforcement Agency, the local law enforcement agencies, the Zendelga Party associated to the plot once again, and the Z Legion, which is going to be the more endgame variation of the protagonist party once they get to that part. Last but not least, the Coalition Army, which is associated to the true ending of the story. There's going to be many other factions, but this is what I've got currently, and it's really the highlights to the parts of the original story that I've developed so far. To the second last tab here, and that is going to be the Persona Ledger, and quite honestly, it is the most detailed piece of this entire Velaris Codex that really pulls everything together, and this is the best part. To come back and once again and showcase, for example, the protagonist character that is developed after myself, gamified into a fantasy storytelling element, we have Avant Zendelga. And once you start really highlighting a lot of these characteristics, this is a full-fledged character profile of every description that you could attempt to have on a single character. And quite frankly, there's nothing like this that exists in this world. In our world right now, there is nothing that is this in-depth when it comes to character story and world building. So this is really the part that really comes down to for this Velaris Codex. And I've done this with about 38 different characters now. And not only has it been incredibly inclusive of my time, rather incredibly consuming of my time, but we'll also get to this one direct showcase at the very end here. So once again, doing a quick little highlight over here. So we're starting to showcase the social status tiers, affiliations, age, Myers-Briggs Association profiling, which is based on the 16 personality types assessments. You're not only getting the full detailed description of what this character is, what they do in the plot, but really understanding what type of person this individual is as well. So you start getting that resonating factor, hence the reason why when I start talking about resonance level, now you're starting to understand why. Combat mechanics. So multiple different attributes when it comes to combat mechanics, not just understanding their combat paths, but also understanding their progressions in that 5-tier system as well. And then getting a nice showcasing of a spider chart that shows how their strengths grow over time. Lore overview, the full descriptive format for the lore of this character. Now the two protagonists that are the first two individuals shown are going to have the longest part, because really when you read those two, you're going to get the full basis of the story. Highly recommend to start right there, if anything. But then the last elements to the Persona Ledger is extra mechanics that really just adds extra filler to providing more detail. You're going to have the weapons and armaments. So not only the weapons that they use, but also the lore associated to those weapons, as well as the strengths of the weapons that are as if the attachment to the weapon that will grow over time as the characters become stronger. Super cool mechanics, and oftentimes witnessed in similar mechanics to Souls-like games. Also showcasing a little bit of material towards the accessories as well. Mana types, we showcase the full distinction of all the potential mana types, and then you get to see what the individual character has when it comes to mana types. Psychological profiles explaining the full context of why I decided to give this character dedicated Myers-Briggs association. Core attributes, both internal and combat mechanic wise. Signature techniques, which is going to start pulling in passive and active abilities for the character individual as if presented in a literal video game standpoint. Full showcase of the descriptions to the character relationships, which is really just highlighting the descriptive parts of the original part at the very top. And then last but not least, and I know you can't see the full part because my face is down here in the bottom right, the defining creed, which is an example of what is one thing that this character would say that would truly be the testament of what this character means. And before I leave to the final tab, the name of this channel, AveyaZ, and the Z stands for Zagar, represented as AveyaZagar, the literal binding and fusion of the two protagonist characters that choose to fight to change their birthright, and in the true ending of the story, reach their point of retribution. Hence the official story name AveyaZ, from Birthright to Retribution. And not only was this the part that really took a lot of time for me, but I wanted this character to be a true showcase of everything that I want to be able to create to this story and be the true sense of unity that is AveyaZ. Of course, now to finalize all of that context, I wanted to showcase the defining creed for AveyaZ, because quite frankly, this is literally my defining creed and something that I live by to this day. And it is this: true human value can't be measured by social status. It's measured by one's depth of character. Beautiful. I could say it a million times. It's always going to be something that is truly resonated within me. And I'm so happy to be able to bring it together within my project, as well as my story building as a character showcase. Last but not least, in the final tab, we have the archives. And here you're just going to get the totality of all the projects that I've created so far on this channel, as well as the link to reaching the official YouTube channel AveyaZ. The extra links to some of the major projects I've already created, such as the Friend Portfolio series, which I highly recommend checking out, as well as, once again, those two links at the top of the homepage in the two corners, the Velaris alignment assessment and the origin story generator, where you can actually take the interactivity of the story and try to create your own original origin story associated to what best fits for you. And if everything here sounds great, then there's only one thing left for you to do, and that is to come back, like, subscribe, follow along in this channel, because I have so much more material that I'm going to bring together in the future. And quite frankly, it's going to take some time for me because I'm now back to being employed. I work full time, 40 hours a week. And this is quite literally all of my leisure time that I'm spending doing is to create this passion project and get it uploaded to YouTube within this video format. And if you like everything that you've seen today, and if some of this material, or if anything at all, resonates within you, that is the whole purpose of the story here, because I'm trying to change the hearts of many, one person at a time. Thank you for being here. I hope you like what's coming forward, because I'm totally excited to bring more to all of you. And the next part here is to take a true depth analysis of each and every individual tab, really showcasing you to the material, as well as building onto some of the things I'm expecting to create in the future. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.